Donna Fields, and welcome to CLIL Scaffolding 8. It's a series of webinars designed to help give you support for using scaffolding in your classroom. Today we're going to talk about how to use scaffolding technique number 56 that you can find in my 101 Scaffolding Techniques for Language Teaching and Learning that's also been translated into Spanish. So the objectives for this session, and as you know, I think it's very important to share our objectives and even co-collaborate making these objectives with your students. And today we're going to show how easy it is to scaffold graphs and tables using scaffolding technique number 56. I'm going to give you an example for a primary and secondary lesson, but you can use it with whatever lessons that you need it for. So scaffolding technique number 56 is called Ask Me Anything, and it's based on using question formats for interacting with graphs and tables. Now, the studies show that 80% of the questions we ask and textbooks ask in the classroom use lower order thinking skills. So today, we're going to help push our students to use higher order thinking skills. Now, gathering, collecting, and interpreting numerical information is a very important skill, but still we want to use information that's relevant to our students and help them become more emotionally involved in it, because that's when they become more involved in their learning. So scaffolding technique number 56 is called Ask Me Anything, and we're going to use a secondary social science class. And this graph has to do with the incredible imbalance in the United States on black men in prison and white men. So again, the point is to use real life issues so that students feel that their studies cross the boundaries outside of the classroom and that it's relevant to them. Because when they feel that their studies are more relevant, they get more involved. So as we said, most of the questions they're going to hear and they're going to read in their textbooks are lower order thinking skills. And that's okay to a certain extent. So in pairs, first they're going to make questions using this graph. So for instance, they might ask some very easy and direct questions. What was the total amount of black men in prison in the year 2000? Or, what's the difference between the black men enrolled in post-secondary education in the year 2000 and the year 2004? So they spend about 5 or 10 minutes writing these questions and asking each other and figuring out the answer. And that's okay because they're direct questions, they're interacting with the graphs. But now let's push them to use higher order thinking skills. Let's give them some questions that they may not have thought of themselves. So to push them into higher order level questions, you can write on the board these beginnings, and they finish them and then ask each other, using the graph still. So for instance, you can ask them to finish these questions. Do you wonder why? Do you think there's a correlation between? How do you see the difference between? Is there a reason why? Did you expect? Based on, how do you infer? Is this similar to? So again, in their pairs, they're going to finish these questions and then join with another pair, and they're going to work on the answer. These push them to look in the graphs at a whole different way. Now, some of your students might have already structured questions that use higher order level thinking skills, but most of them probably haven't. So this is pushing them a little bit, which is what we want to do. And we can push them even further by asking even more open questions. So for instance, what does the graph not show? What else can you conclude from these findings? Even with 4 people, there's going to be more information that they can push themselves to figure out. How could you present this information in a different way? Encourage them to be creative. Use the information and create another chart or another visual representation of it. Do you have any questions you might like to ask on this information that nobody else has asked? And this helps the students feel more ownership about the task. If they haven't been heard or represented yet, here is their opportunity. And so let's try this in a primary natural science class. We're going to use a pie chart about birds here. And again, we want to help students use open-ended questions. A lot of the time, teachers, we do the cognitive work for our students and we determine the relationship ahead of time. But this limits their imagination, and they could give us much more creative analyses if we give them the opportunity. So that's what we're going to do. And after they work in pairs, asking each other direct, probably lower level questions, we're going to push them into higher order questions and higher order level thinking. And so after they worked in pairs for 5 or 10 minutes asking the lower level questions to each other, we're going to push them into higher order level thinking. And these questions encourage them to answer with the word I. And I statements are more powerful for the brain, the studies have shown us. It shows that students feel more powerful and more recognized in the classroom when they use I statements. So here we're going to ask students to finish these questions and then answer them. Could you explain what are your reasons for concluding that? What evidence do you have for saying? What do you see as other possible outcomes? Could you distinguish between? And what would happen if? You could also ask them, what are other ways to interpret the data? This helps to challenge the students, and in the end, they feel more confident and competent in their analytic thinking. So that's it. In this simple scaffolding technique, we've encouraged students to use higher order thinking skills, we've encouraged them to have a sense of ownership about their studies, and we've helped them use deeper analytic thinking. So all you super teachers out there, thank you so much for joining. I look forward to any comments you have. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And I hope to see you next time. Have fun in your classes. Bye.